fantastic episode of the Disturbin the Burbs podcast. Sitting shotgun again today is my lovely and festive wife, Jennifer.
Hello.
And for this episode, we have a very special guest with us. A gentleman named Jason, and there's something special that he has going on that he's put out there for the world to view, and it's called Pacific Northwest Christmas Lights. He's got a Facebook presence. He's got a website. And today we're going to talk to him a little bit about how he came up with that idea and a little bit about him and his background. But first, did you have any difficulties finding us today at all, or was it pretty easy?
It was easy.
Out here in the burbs?
Out in the burbs. It's all good.
Yeah. And I wanted to, just give you a special thanks for responding to my request to come out on the podcast, be on the podcast. And we were actually putting together a guest list of folks that we would like to have come out. And being that it's the holiday season, this was kind of the natural, what do we want to do something fun, for Christmas episodes. And since Jen and I have been following Pacific Northwest, that's a mouthful, Pacific Northwest Christmas lights for the last couple of years, you were definitely on the top of the wish list. So yeah. I'm so glad that you responded.
There's a reason why I now just call it PNWCL.
Right. And it's great, and I want to let everybody know that Jason is actually our first guest on Disturbin the Burbs. So
it's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. This will be episode 3, which will likely be available on Thursday, November 14th. So you can crank up the hype machine and let everybody know that they can look for your episode on the Disturbin the Burbs podcast. And
I'll hype it to the moon.
Yep, we'll hype you on the Facebook page and the website and everything like that, so everybody can kind of check you out. So one of the things that we love to do while we're out having a podcast is we like to have a lovely beverage.
Yes.
Jen, what are you drinking tonight?
I am sorry for not being more creative, but for the third time in a row, I'm having a Paloma.
Episode 1, 2, 3, she's having Paloma. And there's nothing wrong with Paloma.
I promise, as it gets winterier, I will branch out.
Okay.
Oh, good.
What's great about Palomas is there's 2 shots of tequila in it. So, that'll kind of get you on your way, loosen you up a little bit.
Okay.
And Jason, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking an old-fashioned, and this is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I made that old-fashioned for Jason, by the way.
Now, are you guys having the same version?
No, we're not. They're a little bit different, and it's based on the bourbon. And what did you have? You chose...
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek, yep. Very respectable. And I'm having... What did I choose? I think I did... 4 Roses single batch.
You like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
A good one.
Yeah. And I love bourbon because it's corn-based, a little bit sweeter. Oh,
absolutely.
So yummy. And your favorite, you were talking to me about, what is that?
Oh, it's a BSB, brown sugar and bourbon. It's made locally over in Gig Harbor.
Right. Yeah, it's fantastic. Had a bunch myself, so I just want to give a little plug to them. Who knows if they'll hear this?
Yeah, but, and of course, a close second is always Woodinville Whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, another local.
Right.
Always love supporting local.
Yep, absolutely.
Future podcast idea.
Yes.
Because I think there's a Snohomish distillery as well.
Mm-hmm.
There is.
So I'm going to take a pause right here, since this is the segment of what you drinking. I'm going to have a little sip here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Oh, yeah. And there is 2 shots of whiskey in that, so...
So we're all on even footing.
Yes. So I'm just going to jump right into it and just start going down kind of a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask you while you're here.
Sure.
Jen and I have been following you for the last couple of years, like I mentioned before, and we always look forward to who you have listed, who the new, the new light displays. One thing that I found kind of amazing this year that I wasn't paying attention to enough last year or whatnot, but I was noticing there was kind of a big influx of Halloween lights. So was this year the first year? Or?
Well, this is the first year I did a lot of big focus on it. I started Halloween on a whim last year. A displayer named Gina, who runs the Very Merry Christmas House down in Kent, Covington Hill area there. She does an amazing Halloween display and has been kind of egging me to do Halloween for a while. So I'm like, all right, I'll jump in. Last year I was just highlighting the displays. This year I actually visited some of those Halloween displays.
And did you have a kind of a favorite that you came across, or do you play favorites when it comes to that?
I try not to play favorites, but everything's unique in its own fashion. But one of the ones I really liked was called Catherine Creek Cemetery. It's up in Lake Stevens.
Yeah, I remember seeing the post about that one. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I visited that one twice.
Oh,
wow.
Only Gina's display was the only other display that got 2 visits.
Yeah. I'm really bummed now that we didn't make an effort to go up there and see that one next year. It's just kind of the Halloween season got away from us, and we're busy launching this thing and just didn't make it up there. But you'd posted several really cool ones, and so next year.
The hard part with the Halloween ones is some are only running for a couple days.
Right.
Some are running for a week.
Yep.
Gina started October 1st, and a few others started October 1st, but there's very few that start and do the whole month.
Yeah.
So that's the tricky part with Halloween. Christmas, you've got December.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's more longer time to actually hit those displays.
Yeah. I know that when we were first making the introduction to each other, you kind of mentioned Sean Morse's display here in the Highlands where
Yes.
we do live. And yeah, he's got a fantastic kind of pirate themed display. Is that something that you've listed on?
Yeah. Yep. Sailor's Grave. He's I found him through a Holland group that I'm part of as well as Gina. It's called the Northwest Haunters Association.
Oh, okay. Nice.
You might have seen me posting 2 different maps on the page. One was their map, one was my map. I have displays on my list that they didn't have on theirs because of people that were not associated with the Haunters.
Right.
And I took some of the Haunters ones that I liked and added them to my list. And then Troy, who runs the Haunters, he has got a Christmas map, and he's actually collaborating with me, giving me all his Christmas stuff for this year.
Oh,
to
wow.
add
So it's
to
just
mine.
going to be bigger and bigger.
I've already added another 50 displays that he had on his list
my goodness.
that were in the Portland, Vancouver area.
Wow.
That's great.
Okay. So we're going to have to venture a little bit further.
We could make weekend driving trips.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
something to do with our kid.
I can give good recommendations on good routes. So.
Cool. Right on. So I know that Jen actually, I think, introduced me to Pacific Northwest Christmas Lights.
I mean, I work at
first.
home, so I'm on Facebook a lot.
And I think that's where you first found it, right?
Yeah,
No,
I think Woodinville Wonderland, a display in Woodinville,
Yeah.
mentioned you for the first time. And then I started following.
Mark is a good friend who ran that display for, I want to say 15 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew, but he this last year was his last year.
Oh yeah, because we had followed his page as well, and
Yeah.
we would go there every year.
Heartbreaking.
We knew it was coming.
Soul crushing.
You're telling me, because Mark is basically the reason the whole project started.
Yeah.
Him and I started it, as originally just a paper list. It just started as a plain basic list on his site, and he hosted it on WoodinvilleWonderland.com. After about 2 years of doing that, he's like, this is getting too big for me to manage. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. And then bada bing, Facebook.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really kind of how it came about, because that was actually my first question that I wanted to ask you was, how did the Facebook page and the website come about? And so it was born out of the Woodinville Wonderland. And I don't know if anybody that's listening to this right now has ever been out to Woodinville Wonderland. We have been going for literally years.
Yeah, we'll try not to rub it in too much because it's gone.
Because it's gone, and he's selling all his stuff off and moving to Lake Chelan, right?
Well, the stuff's already sold off, and he's already moved. But he's not moved into his new house, which is still being built. But yeah, Mark and Tracy, love those people.
Yeah.
They're amazing people. I'm going to their display going on almost 10 years.
Yeah. I think we're right around there too. Yeah.
And it actually became a New Year's tradition for me and the wife to actually go there on New Year's Eve and watch the display on New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
And that
that's so great.
was that like, then he shut it down after New Year's.
Yeah. He usually shut down like the second or the third, depending on when it fell in the week.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow. So how did it change from just kind of the paper list to you deciding, hey, I need to kind of expand and let people know, more people know about all these different great light displays?
When the paper list became 4 pages, 10-point font, 4 columns, and more than Washington, Mark's like, yeah, I don't have time to be updating this PDF on my website every couple of days.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So, right before, about a week and a half or so before Christmas, about 5 years ago, I was like, okay, I created the page, took the list, started publishing it up there, and the map came 2 years later.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing?
Yeah, when was that 2 years later?
So this is now the 5th year of the Facebook page.
Okay.
So I did not know about it right away. I probably have only known about it for 3 years.
Yeah, our growth, other than last year, we were at a 300% growth every year.
Wow.
We started off we ended the first year at 30 followers. Next year we were at 100, then 300, then 1,000, and then I ended last year at 2,750.
Wow.
That's super cool.
With our goal of 3,000. So we didn't meet goal, but still, that was respectable growth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need to get some sponsors on there with that kind of following.
Trying hard.
Yeah, you'll get them.
This will be the year.
I hope so.
So I guess that kind of leads into my next question is, do you make any money off of Pacific Northwest Christmas lights?
Minimal.
Very minimal.
Very, very minimal. It's not even enough to cover the expenses of everything that I put into it.
So what would you consider this? Would you consider it a hobby or
a passion?
Kind of a passion project?
I'm a Christmas light addict.
Oh boy.
And part of that also feeds into what Mark also brought me into. Just like there's the Northwest Haunters, there's a similar group for the Christmas lighters.
Yeah.
Called Pacific Northwest CLAP, Christmas Light Addiction Program or
I
Problem.
remember him talking about that.
And we're a bunch of like-minded displayers and all that. And we have a once yearly meeting where we kind of have a kind of little conference kind of thing, have demos and lectures and things like that. And then they have a swap meet where they'll bring Christmas gear and they'll, like a flea market with Christmas stuff.
Right.
And then of course there's the big one in Florida, Christmas Expo.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And there's always psychologists on hand to actually talk people through their addiction to Christmas lights.
Absolutely not, but no.
Do you do a display at your house?
I do not, but I do have some lights that I'm going to be putting up, but display not to the level that I would highlight myself.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right. I have my own lighting display that I put out there myself. I put up a lot of lights. I suppose for this neighborhood, I'm probably one of the top, houses that put lights on. Mm-hmm. I also have a ton of inflatables, which is kind of a cop out, but still the same. It's Christmas decor.
I've gotten displays that are just wireframe lights versus and then some that are just wood cutouts,
Right?
Characters. Like
those,
there's one in Olympia called Christmas Comics. It's literally just wood cutouts of comic characters.
Sure,
with
Peanuts,
Jetsons, Betty Boop, Scooby Doo. You name it. They've got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. So that kind of leads into another question that I had. As you've been, driving around and adding people to your list, have you had any, negative experiences one way or the other of people not being interested in, you sharing their light displays? And then this is kind of a loaded question because I've kind of seen that on the website a little bit, but Jen only brought it to my attention. And if you don't want to go into it, that's okay. But I also wanted to kind of maybe open up the dialogue in case you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, actually. Last year, one display that's here in Everett chose not to be listed initially because he's in a hard neighborhood where it's going to be hard for traffic flow and all that, and he didn't really want the traffic to explode.
Sure,
I totally understand.
Right,
and if a display reaches out to me and asks to be removed from the list, hey, no skin off my back. Hey,
right,
sorry, okay, I'll take you off. No.
Reasons.
Yeah, no problem. Some people don't want the extra traffic flow. Some people do. So I respect a display owner.
Yeah.
If they have any kind of web or Facebook presence or other way for me to contact them ahead of time, I usually will approach them and say, hey, I found your display. I'd like to add you to my list. Yeah. Is that okay? Cool. If I can't find any presence for them, I might add them just because, like newspaper listing, just like I pulled a bunch from the Yakima Herald last year and, got a bunch in Yakima. Mm-hmm. Have I heard any feedback on any of those? No. So,
yeah. And so is it kind of a mix of how you find these, whether people contact you, you look in newspapers, how do you go about finding? And I guess let's make this a two-part question here.
Okay.
How do you go about finding or knowing about certain light displays? And then let's talk about how far you've driven to go check one out yourself.
Okay. As for finding them, I use pretty much any possible medium to find them, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's a Facebook, web page, newspaper listing, it does not matter.
Television show?
I try to avoid using the Great Christmas Light Fight because most of those displays are going to get enough traffic as it is.
Sure. Okay, that's understandable.
But a couple of my displays have been on the Great Christmas Light Fight post me actually adding them. Like
awesome.
the Menashe House in West Seattle, they were on Light Fight last
So
year.
that kind of gives you bragging rights a little bit. You knew them first.
Yeah, yeah, but they've been the Monastery's been doing a big display down there for years. I mean, they're you ask anybody in that part of Seattle where the Christmas lights are, they're going to tell you go down to the beach and go down to Monastery House because they've been doing it for years upon years.
Yeah.
I mean, listed in the Seattle Times, the PI, the Stranger, you name it, any kind of Seattle media outlet, they've been talked about.
And yet we hadn't heard of them until the show.
Yeah, until the show.
So there's still plenty of people to.
Our worldview of the Christmas lights display is very much North End.
Yeah.
I always feel like we don't even get to every single one that we want to every year. Last year, I think, well, maybe it was the year before. This was maybe the first year that we found Pacific Northwest Christmas lights. We added several to our list. The Irwin family was a great one that I absolutely loved.
love the Irwins.
Yeah, and they did a Halloween display this year.
They did a very good Halloween display.
Yeah, it didn't. I got to live through you and the pictures that were posted.
We'll make it next year.
But yeah, we'll definitely make it next year. But absolutely love their display. Jen hates I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, but when that came on, I absolutely loved it.
I love that song, but there's so many different versions of it.
Right.
The original Gayla Peavy, I don't like her voice. I'm sorry.
Is that the one I hate?
It's screechy and high pitched. But there's a couple of other versions that are much more easy on the ears.
Okay. Well, I would give it a chance.
Three Stooges has a great version, which has some ad lib lyrics.
As I say, I'd give it a chance.
And then country singer Gretchen Wilson did a very good remake on that as well.
With her whiskey etched voice.
Absolutely.
I would love to hear that one.
Yeah,
It's great.
Let's go find it.
We'll have to give that one a listen. I guess to refresh, I talked about how far you'd driven. So how far have you traveled to go check out?
So from Everett, I've gone as far north as Abbotsford, British Columbia.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, know where that is.
And then as far south as Eugene. No, not Eugene. Sorry. Salem.
Okay.
But one year I actually did Sandy, Oregon to St. Helens, Oregon, pretty much east to west, Portland metro area, and all the way to Abbotsford in a weekend.
Wow.
And did displays in Tacoma, Olympia, Aberdeen, and all that en route. This was a 3-day weekend for me, but I literally did Portland one day, this one day, the next day. It was insane.
So did you sleep during the day? Because you got to see all these displays at nighttime, right?
So you had to drive.
Sleep? What's sleep? That's what Bang energy drinks for.
Right. And we just experienced our first Bang.
Yeah.
Jen had one of those. I hadn't had one yet, and so I tried it, and that was actually a fantastic beverage.
What flavor?
It was a berry something.
Yeah, it was a purple can. I remember that much.
Do yourself a favor. Go to GNC and get the champagne.
Oh.
It is probably the best flavor they make. They had a root beer flavor. I don't know if it's still made. When I went looking for it, they had discontinued it temporarily.
Yeah.
So if it's back out, that's also a very popular flavor.
All right, folks, you hear it right here. We're getting a shout out to Bang Energy Drinks.
Follow-up number 2.
Try champagne. That's the one. Okay.
Yes.
Make a mental note of that
future sponsor.
Yes, exactly. Future sponsor. I could do a lot worse than Bang Energy Drinks. Right. So we've kind of covered. One of my next questions was, do people email you and have you come out to check out their display so they can be added to your site?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
One of the ones I have in. Actually, no, not Abbotsford. Chilliwack is actually first, but a little bit further out from Abbotsford, but still same area. But yeah, that's one of the ones I was emailed about. Gary up there runs a nice display, Diamond Crescent Lights. Yep. And he invited me up to see his display. And there was another one just down the road from him in Chilliwack as well, who's gone dark the last couple of years. But got invited up to see both of those, and it was a great time.
Right. You just said go dark, right? So obviously over the years that you've been doing this, you've probably seen an ebb and flow of people that have great light displays and then they disappear. I know certainly in Jen and I and the neighborhoods that we drive around to, it is absolutely soul crushing when we come across a yard that has absolutely nothing in it that we are accustomed to seeing year after year. And obviously they've moved, or something like that. We always wish where did they move? You know, are they still local? You know, are they putting up their display? There was somebody here in the neighborhood too, towards the
Your main competitor.
Yeah, he was no competition. He was far superior.
Yeah, he was like
far superior to mine, but he disappeared a few years ago and have no idea where he went. And those are always, you know, kind of disappointing to me when folks drop off like that. So
there's been definitely a number of those that have broken my heart.
Well, and some that we would visit when Carter was little.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was sentimental reasons we wish they were still there because they were one of his favorites, and we'd go back with him.
Yeah, obviously Woodinville Wonderland is so
Obviously,
crushing.
yeah.
Who else has been?
Another good one. I used to pair it up whenever I went up to Woodinville Wonderland. It was over in Carnation. It was called Carnation Christmas. Ian, who ran that display, stopped doing display a couple of years ago. He thought he was going to come back, but life happens, and
Right.
He's apparently now sold off his display items to other people. So
Wow.
I don't know where or when any of that went, but I can probably tell you where some of the stuff from Woodinville Wonderland went.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple things.
Did you have what did you end up picking up that was something of your favorite?
Well, I got one of his banners that says "Welcome to Woodinville Wonderland." I also got. As you came up the road, there was that sign pointing up to Woodinville Wonderland. I have that sign.
Okay.
And I have a blow mold polar bear that was on his front porch.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
So just a couple small trinkets. You know, nothing huge. But one of the favorites was the Thomas the Train that he had.
Oh yeah.
That actually went back to the guy he actually bought it from.
Okay.
So he bought it back and is going to take over. And a gentleman I know who lives actually not too far from here, he's going to be putting up hopefully a fairly good display this year. Got some of Woodinville Wonderlands as well. And
Who got the animatronic snowman?
Mark kept that.
Oh yeah.
That and the icicle tree.
Okay.
Those are a couple things that he had to keep.
Right.
Sure.
But story about the snowman. He actually got that from a guy who's down in Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
He was on the Great Christmas Light Fight a couple years ago. Display is called Lights on Display. He's got a great Facebook page. Check him out. His display is flippin' amazing. It's small,
Yeah.
but the technology involved in it is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. He's got a DJ. He's got screens. He's got. Well, this last year, he added a third snowman. So we've got Mr. Frosty, Mrs. Frosty, and then a child Frosty.
Oh wow.
That are all singing and doing stuff,
Yeah.
and then dancing elves and this
Crazy amount of time goes into that.
He's the only display owner I know that one has won a Great Christmas Light Fight and also has an Emmy.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
How do you get an Emmy from a Christmas light display?
He didn't.
Oh.
It's
Unrelated.
from his normal everyday
Oh,
work.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know the details, but I know it's he's in the industry.
so
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't work a 9 to 5, and that's how he can.
Oh, he works in 9 to 5. I'm pretty sure he works in some sort of animatronic or other field where he's doing stuff for television or movies
Oh,
where he
okay.
get an Emmy.
Yeah. I remember it's Mark, right? At Woodinville Wonderland. Yeah. There was probably a couple years there with his snowman where it wasn't working
Yep.
correctly. And I always remember watching it, you know, from year to year. Okay, it's going to be ready. It's going to be up and running.
Yeah.
And finally we got to see it in its full force. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice Z was his name.
That's
That's
right.
right.
I see. Yeah.
I also really liked the snowflakes that were on the roof and down
Yes.
to the front of the house.
The
side.
My favorites were just the actual MCs of the show, Rudy and Elvis.
Yes.
And Mark's bad jokes that he because that's Mark's voice on those two that he dubbed in.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That's awesome. So what's the criteria for getting listed on Pacific Northwest Christmas lights?
I really don't have a set criteria. You know, if you feel you have a display that's worth listing, I'll take a chance on you and list you.
Yeah.
If I show up and you've only got 2 strings of lights, bye, click, delete. But
Right.
no, I'm not as picky as some of my fellow listers. I'll give an example of my cohorts down in California Christmas Lights, who I started partnering with last year. He actually did a post, you know, saying about what his criteria is and all that. Only 3 of 25 displays that he gets submitted actually gets listed on his site. But he's covering the entire state of California, which is insane.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, is that probably a bigger area than what you cover? Or
I would say
how far east do you go?
I would say number of display wise, yes, because there's more you've got San Francisco, Sacramento, Oakland, LA, San Diego, all those major cities and a lot more population. I mean, there's more people living in California than all of Canada.
Hell.
So what do you think the percentage of, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of jumping into the next question here. What do you think the percentage of folks that you've had to actually turn down, and when you show up and take a look at the display and you're like, it's going to be a waste of somebody's time to come out here?
5% or less.
Yeah. So generally people probably self-regulate and they know if they've got something good going that they...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple displays that aren't, huge, drastic, over the top Woodinville Wonderlands by any means.
Right.
But, I go up and go, okay, it's respectable.
Right. What's your favorite right now? Now that I would say that probably Woodinville Wonderland was always in my top 2, probably. I've got one other that's my favorite, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, what are you looking most forward to? Or, now that Mark's gone and packed it up, what else is out there that really gets you kind of going and excited to see year after year?
Well, probably my trio of displays in Linden, actually.
Linden, Washington.
Yes. Wow. There's Emerald Way lights, cross country lights, and one other, Stewart Family. There we go. Okay. Stewart Family, he was a first-year display last year. Mm-hmm. He got help from the other 2 guys on getting his display up.
Right.
These 3 displays are within a mile of each other.
Wow. So you can just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, and they're all they're each different. Mm-hmm. One's all pixels. One's pixels and a little bit of other stuff mixed in, and then the other one's a little bit more creative with some other elements as well.
Right.
But I can't say that there's one per se display that I'm totally looking forward to. If anything, it might be the static display at Oli Light Extravaganza.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a huge static walking display. You walking through their yard and the trails. They put up some lights.
Awesome.
And they've got I think it's a 20-foot candy cane that's right next to their treehouse.
Wow.
Is
that Olympia?
Yeah, it's Olympia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll be taking a drive down to Olympia.
Sure. Olympia is a hotbed. I mean, there's I think I have at least 10 displays in the Olympia area.
You'll make a day out of it.
You could easily make a day of it.
I don't think that the Christmas season truly gets launched or started without us visiting Keener's.
I love Keener's.
Yeah, Keener's is probably my favorite other than Woodinville Wonderland. And now that he's gone, I think Keener's is right up there.
I actually got to hang out at Keener's this last year. I actually got to meet Jeff and the wife.
Yep.
And was talking to them, and we were actually out with them greeting people coming in and handing out our business cards.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Spreading the love and spreading the word about PNWCL.
Right.
Very cool.
That's awesome. And they do great charity work there too.
They really do. And any display that does things for charity always gets an extra oomph onto my list right away.
Right.
Because
Irwin Family does as well, right?
Yes.
I'd say they're my top competitors with Keener. I really love them.
Yeah, I love them. You had a really interesting edition. I think it was last year. It was new to me anyway. And it wasn't that the display was significant by any means, but from a technological standpoint, they had wrapped their front maple tree in the pixel lights, and they'd mapped the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, the Hubinette tree. Yeah.
And is that over in Bothell?
That is in Bothell.
Yeah.
They, you wouldn't have seen them if you'd only been following us for a couple of years. The last 2 years prior to that, they had been dark because they were on trips out of the country, gotcha. I believe is what it was. So they weren't running the tree, but I discovered them, multiple years ago, added them to the list, and then just kept an eye on their page. Yeah. Said, okay, when are you guys going to light up? And they're actually one of the ones considering being interviewed by me for a Facebook Live interview later this season.
Do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I found that one to be just super interesting.
It's very creative.
It's very creative. I think we went there and it was like all Frozen songs from the Frozen movie.
Yep.
Let it go, let it go.
Nice.
Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah, thanks. But I'm pumped. So yeah, that one was probably one of my top, most interesting
fun discoveries.
Yes. Through your efforts. So we kind of, I'm already excited to actually dive back in and see which ones we want to add to the list. One that we always go to is over by Costco in
Fir Grove.
Fir Grove. Fir Grove is kind of, it's an older neighborhood. It's got kind of got those mid-century modern houses, and they really kind of, the whole neighborhood gets together, and that's what makes me feel the most nostalgic is when I go into a neighborhood and everybody takes part. Just like, what is it, Olympic Manor?
Olympic Manor.
Yeah, Olympic Manor
right.
in Seattle.
My family went there when I was.
I don't know if it's been years since I've been to that one.
It has.
And I don't know if they're all keeping up with it all, but I just love seeing the old blow mold, candlesticks and everything that they tend to put out there. I just love that neighborhood.
I think of them along with Candy Cane Lane.
Yeah,
that
Candy
was
Cane
the other
Lane.
big one we would go to when I was little.
But, through Jason's efforts, man, it's just been crazy. It's been a lot of fun just getting to explore and see all these new different light displays. So kind of the last question that I wanted to ask you before Jen cracks into our lightning round with you is, what's the future? What's the future for Pacific Northwest Christmas lights?
Well, hopefully in the future we'll get some sponsorships so we can draw a little money to cover the costs of everything I do. Because,
sure.
Web hosting is not cheap.
Right. You're having those. You just showed me an app that you're getting developed, and you want to do more of that.
Yes.
So there's a big cost there.
And then of course the travel. For me to travel to the displays. Yeah. And hotel. I mean.
Yeah. You do overnight trips. Sure.
I mean, my car will get to Portland and back on one tank of gas. That's not a problem. But if I have to stay over, well, that's $100, whatever, plus food, whatever.
So if there are any iOS developers out there that love Christmas lights, love Christmas, or just have a good heart, hook up with Jason on Pacific Northwest Christmas Lights and help him out, man. Help him create this iOS app. He's kind of got the Android version of it covered, right?
Yeah, with a free service that's provided it. But if we could find someone that develops for both iOS and Android, it would just make it a more polished product.
Sure. Okay. So I know I got a lot of friends out there that are Android and iOS developers.
Okay.
So and I know you listen to the podcast. So guys, do this man a solid. Help him out. Donate some of your time. Help him put together, iOS app and Android app so we can reach a little bit further. And anyway, thanks for answering my questions. I know Jen wants to ask you a few as well.
My turn.
Jen's turn. So
I need my own theme song. This is my first lightning round, but
by the way, this has been a lot of fun so far. So thanks for coming out. It's been
a pleasure.
It's been a joy. So,
are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite Christmas decoration at your house?
Has to be a LED star that I actually won in the raffle at the clap meeting this year. It changes color and does patterns and such like that. It's kind of a cool little thing. Don't have to have any programming or computer to do the light patterns to it. It just does it all automatically.
Love it.
Cool.
Favorite winter beverage?
Mark's hot buttered rum that he makes his homemade recipe. He has a homemade recipe that is the bomb.
Mm-hmm. So are you going to get to experience some of that this?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But
you're not going to make a drive up to Chelan to see.
I don't know if he'll have the resources to be doing it if his house isn't made yet.
Gotcha.
But I will go for my second best, which is Hagen's hot buttered rum mix.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let's put a reminder to do hot buttered rum. Okay, but that's not very lightning-y. Let's move on. Favorite Christmas movie?
Christmas Vacation.
Excellent.
Nice.
Have you been to Disneyland at Christmas time?
I have not been to Disney at all.
Oh, that's a shame. But
it is.
Okay, moving on. Favorite Christmas song?
Santa's Got a Semi by Keith Harling.
Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
I do not.
All right. Gingerbread, fruitcake, both or neither?
Gingerbread, hands down. Fruitcake, throw it in the garbage.
Agree. Favorite place to shop for Christmas decorations?
Home Depot.
Nice.
Okay.
Which Christmas character would you be best friends with?
Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
Sure, fool.
Okay, mistletoe, yes or no?
No.
Have you ever worn a Santa suit?
Yes.
All right.
Nice.
Real or fake trees?
I like the smell of real trees, but personally, I use a fake tree just because I've got a really cool one that does light patterns and such.
Cool. Let's come back to that one.
Yep.
How many trees do you put up?
Just one.
This one. Okay.
Well,
We got them beat there.
Do my little LED ones I have at my computer count?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
then 6.
All right. Would you rather not celebrate Christmas or your birthday this year?
Birthday.
That's what you thought
Yeah,
too,
I
right?
figured that.
All right. Oh, actually, that was the last one because we already covered favorite local Christmas display.
Yeah. I want to know more about the Christmas song. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
What was that again?
Santa's Got a Semi by Keith Harling.
Keith Harling.
He's a country artist that sadly only produced 2 albums. The first album was the only one he had any hits off of.
Right.
The second one was the one that had Santa Got a Semi, which got a little bit of radio play, but none of the other songs got any love. And then he's since retired from the performing aspect. I think he's still songwriting and things like that in Nashville.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well,
But it's a great, catchy, fun song.
We're always in a catchy, fun song. So, Jen, what's your favorite Christmas song?
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Any artist in particular?
No, there are several versions that I like.
Yeah. I like the Christmas song by Nat King Cole. Classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
I'm very untraditional when it comes to Christmas music.
Us too, for the most part. We'll listen to anything.
Yeah.
It's a sickness.
Are
you already listening to Christmas music?
I have been for 2 months.
Yes.
I had to pull Amazon playlists to start playing them in the beginning of October. And then finally Sirius XM brought on Holidays Traditions about 2-3 weeks ago. And then Holly came live on November 1st.
Nice. So I'm going to go completely off script here, okay? Because the episode that you and I just recorded, which is not up live yet,
Right.
But we were talking about kind of dipping our toes into the arguments that we've had with friends that, they love to compartmentalize their holidays. They've got to, especially the trifecta this time of year. I love Halloween. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. But I don't care if they overlap. And I'm kind of, into the notion, whatever brings you happiness and joy, just do it, right? But there are people that are specifically, adamant about like no Christmas until Thanksgiving is done.
Exactly.
And there's your answer right there. That's really all you really need to do. But, I mean, certainly you're, both feet in. You're promoting something that is very Christmas related, obviously. Have you ever gotten much flack for what you do?
No.
Or, is there a specific time where you go like, I'm not going to really touch this until a certain time? Or is it kind of like a free for all?
I start doing the Halloween stuff usually about 1st of October or 1st of August. And then I'll start, pinging Christmas displays by the end of August.
Right.
Because most display owners are going to know by the end of August if they're running a display.
Yeah.
Because they're already
They gotta get
planning.
going. Yeah.
They're already planning in the planning stages or, finishing building that last new thing or whatever. But yeah, no, I don't compartmentalize at all. It's like for me, Halloween is the opening beverage. You've sat down at the restaurant, you got your water.
Right.
Thanksgiving, that's the appetizer. Christmas.
Nobody puts up Thanksgiving lights.
And what about Hanukkah lights? Come on.
Right.
It's the festival of lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's my Hanukkah lights?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. And now you've got to add
Diwali.
Yeah, you got to add.
I want to see a musical Christmas display for Hanukkah lights with the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song.
Right.
Done.
Totally.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Somebody has had to done that.
I would hope so.
I would hope so as well, but I have not seen it yet on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Unless you've got any closing comments that you want to make or any revelations or anything like that.
Well, just, make sure you get out, you follow Pacific Northwest Christmas Lights. We've got the Facebook, the webpage, Twitter, Instagram. I've got photos up on Tumblr as well. I mean, I'm all across
You're
the board.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And what's the website?
The website is Pacific Northwest or NW Christmaslights.com.
Great. And how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in adding their display to your list?
Well, there's a contact me on the Facebook as well as on the webpage, but
Great.
the email address is pacificnwchristmaslights@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thanks again, Jason, for coming out.
It is a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a real joy talking to you, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.